it addresses the current unregulated practice of placing volunteer DNA samples from people who have never been convicted of any crime in impromptu, unregulated, sometimes permanent databases. So we focus on the regulated and unregulated DNA, and it directs the Commission on Forensic Science to establish new guidelines to preserve and use forensic evidence. It also would establish funding programs for crime labs and for innocence research projects. This is our first step here in New York, believe it or not, at really addressing innocence. So I'll end there.
Thank you, Roy. Chief Byler.
Well, thank you, Larry. First of all, thank you to members of the Bar Association for allowing me to be a panelist today. I'm actually here wearing two hats. In addition to being a local police chief, I'm also an adjunct faculty member at Utica College, and one of the courses I teach is investigations. So I have a compelling interest in reforming the system, procedural and in terms of law, to see that no person ever gets wrongfully convicted. And as a police chief, I can't believe that there would be any law enforcement official out there that would want to be involved or have their agency be involved in the wrongful conviction of a suspect. To that end, not only academically but procedurally, we're moving forward with what I call best practices to make sure that this doesn't happen again. If you study the statistics, you'll find that the vast majority of wrongful convictions are the result of misidentification, wrong identifications, poorly handled identification procedures, where an eyewitness picks a suspect out of a lineup or a photo lineup. So for one of our new best practices we'd like to see instituted, of course, is to have all identification procedures be corroborated and not be the sole probable cause for an arrest. That can be done in a number of ways, especially with the new technology we're encountering. And I'd like to expand a little bit on what the Assemblywoman said regarding videotaping confessions and identification procedures. I think we're ahead of the curve here in Oneida County. Our district attorney last year received a grant which allowed most of the police agencies in Oneida County to put high-tech video recording equipment in their police stations. I believe you had something to do with that. Thank you. And I got to tell you, there was some resistance in law enforcement to videotaping interrogations. I was not one of them. I understand the value of videotaping police interviews and interrogation. We got over some of those issues, and most of the law enforcement agencies in Oneida County are now videotaping interrogations of suspects. We're also starting, under some of our new best practice, we're also starting to videotape the identification procedure itself, which is statistically is the basis for most of the wrongful convictions, where an eyewitness wrongfully picks out a subject out of a lineup or a photo lineup. We talk about lineups a lot, but for those of you who are not knowledgeable of police procedures, we also use photo lineups, where we take photographs of people with similar characteristics and put them in a photo lineup, and a witness is asked to pick out a subject if in fact they're in the photo lineup. And we find that photo lineups are, no doubt, if you look at the statistics, are the result of misidentification also. So by videotaping these identification procedures, I think we can reduce, if not eliminate, and institute some of these best practices, eliminate some of the procedural reasons that people are misidentified and subsequently convicted wrongfully of crime. And once again, I think we're way ahead of the curve with our videotaping procedures in Oneida County. It is not mandatory in New York State, as Assemblywoman Rowan just said. We're hoping through legislation that it becomes mandatory, and I think that'll help to eliminate a lot of, like I said, the procedural issues which are resulting in wrongful identifications and subsequent misidentifications and wrongful convictions. I also want to address one other